Good afternoon, everybody. It's Carpo here. Crazy. Okay, here's my meter. Just jumped up to 350. I've been carrying this thing around with electrodes on me all day long, measuring my my electrical current, and this is the highest it's been all day. It hit about 333 this morning, and it tapered down to about 222, and it's been sitting there for about the last hour. The minute I walked out here and sat down in the chair, it was still remained at 222. As soon as I thought about making my video, it jumped up to like 300, and then it boosted up to like 350. I've never seen it skip around like that. I'm very intrigued by this finding. I've been watching this thing carefully all day long, and it hasn't really done anything until now, when I decided to, I put my mind and my attention into thinking of making a video, and it's back down to now it's down to like 240 again, but it's skipping around like crazy, and I don't know, that wasn't what I was going to make my video about, but it's just kind of an interesting finding to me. I don't know if that's, how much of that is just coincidence. We'll see. Anyway, I wanted to tackle a couple of issues about, this whole a lot of talk about raising your frequency, raising your vibration, okay? And this stuff has been getting me for the last couple of years, because I know that a lot of people buy into it and they end up spending a lot of money on these stupid New Age courses trying to raise their chakras and their vibrations, and I just find it to be nonsense. If there's intention behind it, perhaps there's some credibility to it. I don't know. But as for it being some one particular newfound path, I'm very wary, very skeptical. I was watching this documentary about how we're constantly broadcasting our signals. We are electrical creatures. Everything we do is electrical. Weird, now it's down to like 186. Strange. Anyway, it was really interesting, because they were talking about the acoustics of the planets and the different frequencies of the planets, how they correlate to the frequencies of us, and how we can resonate with certain frequencies. And I find that to be very plausible and very interesting science, because we understand harmonic resonance and wave interference, which there's constructive interference and there's destructive interference. So it's kind of the idea that when you walk into a room, the whole good vibe idea is a true good vibration that you're emitting or receiving, and negativity can bring an entire group down. And these are things that we may not be able to quite prove yet, but I think we all know that they work, and now they're starting to be able to measure, supposedly auras and fields and chakras, and they're using these computers to interpret the data. So I started asking myself, since we affect, as observers, the very light wave itself, how do we know that we're getting the results that aren't skewed by our intentions? And it leads to a lot more questions than answers. And so, rather than trying to figure out the very complicated things, I like to keep it simple and compare things to the way that nature works. You hear a lot about consciousness upgrades, and my thought is this: if there's truly something that raises your vibrational frequency, with a raised frequency also comes raised energy. Therefore, that energy should be measurable. I would think that would be measurable on a device such as this, or something similar. Perhaps it's a wave that we don't understand yet, but I would think that if you're an electrical unit and your body's affected by your emotion, then that should be readable. There's dozens of documentaries on spirit and ascension, but most of them are hyped up with very little credibility, and there's a few good ideas out there, but it's clogged with a lot of irrelevant banter. I watched one earlier where they were talking about metaphysical and consciousness, and during the documentary there was a picture of Obama with evil eyebrows, and they started talking about bloodlines, and I understand how people want to tie these things all together, which is fine, but it's really irrelevant and should be set aside. Politics and bloodlines, all of that is power, and power in itself it takes on a personality, so therefore it can be included. But you know, to the degree it's useful is to be debated. You know, they talk about consciousness upgrades and say that we're going through a cycle. And I say, well, what cycle? Which cycle? A 72-year cycle, 72,000-year cycle, 26,500-year-old cycle? Which cycle exactly are we going through? And I'm going to read you a line here that helps to explain kind of where I'm coming from. This is from Spirit Science, which I love Spirit Science, and I really enjoy the series. And but people have to take it with a grain of salt. And here's from 3 minutes in, and this is why so many people have a problem and dispute these, you know, New Age claims. It says, there was a time long ago when humans existed at a very high level of consciousness. We were interdimensional and very psychic. We communicated through thought and emotion. And then he goes on to talk about how we lived in Lemuria, and Lemuria sank, Atlantis rose, or vice versa. The way it's presented is as if it's fact. There's still, Jordan, the guy who makes the videos, still says later in the video to do your own research, but you can see how a person could hear that and say, hey, you can't say that. And a lot of these claims are also spoken as gospel in a lot of other documentaries about consciousness, about vibration, frequencies, DNA. I met one guy the other day who claims that you know, he's like the only guy that knows how DNA works, and he made this little diagram. He looked all disheveled and like he just woke up, and he has these scribbles on and the title of the video is How Consciousness Works. And you even dispute the guy and he just goes ballistic. And a lot of these people have this same attitude, this aura of arrogance, that they have answers, that this is consciousness upgrade. So my challenge is to say, if that's true, how do we measure it, and how do we make it useful for the individual? There has to be a way that we can utilize it to learn more about ourselves or our world, and that's why I started using this meter. It's been hovering at about 130 now, and I've found that even after this one day of home research, because we have to find something that we can all use to do research with. And I think that these meters might have something to say about who we are, how our emotions affect us, and I have a lot yet to research on it to see if it's really even valuable. But my thought is that if your body's emitting a voltage, there's a reason for that. And the little bit of research I've done on it says that certain healers and stuff have got their bodies up to 2 volts or more. As mine hovers around 300, that's about a third of a volt, 300 millivolts. So a third of a volt. And I found another guy's page, which I posted on one of my earlier videos, where he documented himself through all these different activities and times of day, and he wrote down his millivolts, which coincide with mine pretty accurately, except for his got up a little bit higher. I haven't reached that point yet, but I'm really going to watch my emotions and watch my state of mind and see how it correlates to this, because we might very well be able to figure out why we're feeling certain ways, or whether we're right or wrong. Perhaps our electrical impulses read us better than we know ourselves. I thought it was really interesting that it jumped up right before the video to 300, and now it's down to 80. But I'm sitting here watching it, and it starts climbing. It's a very strange thing. I have much more to learn about this. So, but to question all of these New Age thoughts, you know, there has to be a way to. If we find out that meditation, say, raises your frequency, therefore your energy, then maybe we can start measuring these things to see where a person really is at as a healer, or to measure the location that they're trying to heal to see how much is really true. Because there are healers out there, people who can truly heal. All of us are healers. I'm not going to say anybody's special. Some people have trained their senses to work better for them, and I think we all have the capability if we just understand how to apply ourselves. So hopefully we find out some answers to that. Hope you're all having a good day.